Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told how to voice the radio. So today, we've got to look at some new cards, and quite frankly, if you're anything like me, or indeed if you're anything like most Pokémon TCG players, you might not be very fond of these cards at all. We've got a new Floatzel, and we got ourselves a new Tornadus. But we're going to start off with Floatzel, because Floatzel is, I think by a bit of a margin, the more relevant of them. So what we've basically got is 110 HP stage 1, nice low retreat cost of 1, and a weakness to lightning, which is largely irrelevant due to the whole tiny HP. You know, 110 isn't horrendous for a stage 1, but let's just say it's not going to take too much to take that down, so we're not worried too much about the basics. And similarly, 2 energy, 60 damage, nah. There's just nothing really to be concerned about here. You're not going to put 2 water energy on here to do 60 damage unless you are absolutely just desperate. Either you can spare the energy and it will get a key KO, or you really do have nothing else. It's not terribly relevant. Now, I should say that our translation here comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet, and big fan of Antoine, obviously, as you all know by now. And what we've got here is a really nice attack for just a single water energy. Flotation. Put up to 2 item cards from your discard pile into your hand. And now we're talking, ladies and gentlemen. Now we are talking. It's not the kind of attack that I like. It's not going to make the kind of decks that I like to play with or indeed against. But it is absolutely, if you are into control decks, it is absolutely going to be something you will adore. Of course, it is extremely similar to the Smeargle from Fusion Strike with absolutely amazing artwork. But that Smeargle, now first of all, it's a basic. Basic is awesome, better than stage 1. But secondly, Smeargle can only get you to Fusion Strike trainer cards from your discard pile into your hand. Now that's not terrible, because we've got Cross Seaver. If you play 2 of them at the same time, you put a supporter card into your hand, which is lovely from your discard pile, or a Pokemon, but this is really here for recovering your supporter cards. And then we've got Cross Switcher, which is gusting if you play 2 at the same time, which is clearly brilliant. So Smeargle here, yeah, you're basically getting both of them back, so you can get both halves, playing both at the same time. Jobs are good 'em. But Smeargle is very much for Fusion Strike item cards, and like I've said, you've got obvious combos there, which is lovely. Outside of those obvious combos, it's not necessarily what you're going to be going for. But this is for anything. This is for absolutely anything. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to play control, this is now your best option. Like, if you know much about the European Pokemon scene, you will know that Sonder Wojcik, and I'm sorry for the pronunciation there, the best known, probably best control player around, certainly one of them. And if you're part of the European scene, you will know who Sonder is. And as soon as this card was revealed, Sonder went and basically told us, yeah, it's better than the alternatives. This is better than we've got. Said that Pokemon is slowly trying to improve control without giving it anything obnoxiously oppressive. We're not talking about some kind of absolutely amazing stunning card, but we are talking about the best option they've got. Like, if you really want to talk about kind of all-time greats along these lines, we're talking Sableye and Junk Hunt. And Sableye and Junk Hunt is absolutely ridiculous. That was just 2 item cards from your discard pile into your hand on a basic. And it's the same thing as Floatzel, with the gigantic difference that Floatzel is a stage 1 and Sableye is a basic. And that makes an absolutely gigantic difference. And Sableye, you know, when we had Sableye, one of the things we had was Puzzle of Time. Puzzle of Time allows you to, when you play 2 at the same time, grab any 2 cards from your discard pile to your hand. So what you would essentially do with Sableye was just keep junk hunting for 2 Puzzle of Time, so you could essentially get any cards back, not just item cards. And the combination of Sableye and Puzzle of Time was overpowered, was obnoxious, and was arguably too good. Floatzel is not in that level. It's not in that league. Let's be perfectly clear. But if you are a control player and you want to be playing these kind of decks, This is a great option that you are absolutely going to be wanting to have a good old play around with. Perfect? No. Nobody's arguing that for a second. Potentially great? Yes. Absolutely. And people are arguing that. Because you've got item cards, you've got things like Crushing Hammer, and everybody loves Crushing Hammer. And by everybody loves Crushing Hammer, I of course mean nobody really likes Crushing Hammer, but there are certain people that like to play it. Flip a coin, if heads, get rid of one of your opponent's energy. It's not very nice, but if you're a control player, trying to limit your opponent's options by getting rid of their energy, etc., this is good. But Palpad also becomes a great option here. Palpad, of course, gets yourself 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your deck, so this allows you to continually recover your supporter cards, and then things like Boss's Orders that you can use to strand something in the active is going to keep coming back over and over again, and you're going to have that available for the entire game. A card like Team Yell Grunt, which is another way to get rid of your opponent's energy, is going to be available for the entire game. Put an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon into their hand. And it means you can be playing around with these kind of supporters. Whether we've got them now, whether we're going to get them in the future, it doesn't really matter. They're going to be available for the game. So things like Crushing Hammer are going to keep coming back. Thanks to Palpad, your supporter cards are going to keep coming back. Thanks to something like Ordinary Rod, your Pokemon are going to keep coming back. And the thing is, even where you're not going after items, I've already shown you that things like supporter cards and Pokemon have other ways to recover them. No, it's not as good as something like Sableye, and I'm not going to pretend for a second that it is, because it's not. But if you compare this to something like Azumarill from Fusion Strike, put 3 in any combination of Pokemon and supporter cards from your discard pile into your hand, all of a sudden this is looking a bunch better. Because actually, I don't necessarily want to get Pokemon and supporter cards. Item cards are way more adaptable, as I've shown you. So sure, it's 2 cards rather than 3, but the fact that it's item cards rather than just Pokemon and supporters means that when you compare it to something like Azumarill, which up till now has been one of your better options, it is starting to look a whole bunch better. I'm going to go ahead and give this 4 Wassies. I hate it personally. This is my nightmare card. I don't want to play against these kind of decks. But it's a great option for control decks, and they have not had great options up to now. So yeah, have fun with that. The other one we've got that's gone and been revealed is a Tornadus, and Tornadus is another one of those that could be annoying, though it's not in the same league as something like Floatzel. Now what we've got here is 120 HP, that's the wrong kind of HP because of stuff like Rapid Strike Urshifu naturally doing 120, that's not fun. But we've got Retreat Cost of 1, which is nice and low, and a Resistance to Fighting, doesn't work on the bench, but it's still nice to have a resistance. Now, once again, the damaging attack here is not relevant. Free energy 100, no. And you're not hitting anything for weakness ever, because you're a colourless Pokemon, and that doesn't exist right now. So basically, no. This is not good. But we do have the ability Sudden Cyclone. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may have your opponent switch their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. Oh. Yeah, this is quite nice. Now remember, with abilities like this, your opponent gets the choice. This is not something like, I mean, it's rotated out now, but as I always used to phrase it, this is Repel, it's not Boss's Orders. And Repel never saw a huge amount of play as an item card because your opponent got the choice and it was annoying. Now, what we really want to do is compare this to Fiona straight away, and the fact of the matter is that when compared to Fiona, it's a bad card. I played a bunch of Fiona, for instance, in my Excadrill deck, but it's not even close. For starters, Fiona worked on the bench. It wasn't when you play it from your hand to the bench, so you could essentially leave Fiona sitting on the bench, and it was there ready for when you needed it. You could put it there and have it ready for several turns down the line. That's a big deal. Secondly, Fiona went back into your deck, so could be used over and over again. You could get multiple uses with Fiona as you go through the game, rather than your one use with Tornadus. And thirdly, Fiona went to the bottom of your deck. One of the reasons I played it in Excadrill was so that I didn't deck out. Because, of course, Excadrill did a bunch of self-milling, you wanted to have 3 cards in your deck or fewer, so you do 180 for a single energy with 11th hour tackle, but there was always that chance you would deck out. Fione meant that you wouldn't. Go down to a 0-card deck, use Fione, hey, I've got a 1-card deck, jobs are good and off you go. Tornadus doesn't do any of that. Tornadus is just, you play it, you gust. And the fact of the matter is, we have had this exact ability before on a basic colourless Pokemon that's flying in the video games. It's Hawlucha. We had this on the Hawlucha from Steam Siege. It's the same ability, except Hawlucha actually at 80 HP can be grabbed with a level ball, so I like this less than I like Hawlucha. And Hawlucha was fine, but it wasn't particularly good and didn't see much play. I do need to mention a Scoop Up Net is absolutely an option here, so you can essentially play Tornadus, and then Scoop Up Net turns into Repel, but as I've told you, nobody really played Repel when it was a thing. So yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad card, it's not a bad card. There are absolutely games where making your opponent switch can win. I won a key game at UK Nationals back in 2011 using Regice to make my opponent switch because the only Pokemon I couldn't KO was in the active. That literally won me the game, put me on the course to top cut. But again, Regice sat on the bench and sure you had to discard 2 cards from your hand to use it, but it was there ready for when you did need it. Things like Regice and Fione have been really good in the past, but this isn't them. This is Hawlucha, and Hawlucha wasn't that good. I'm still giving it 3 Wassies, there's still a bunch of potential here, it could still end up being good in the future, but let's not kid ourselves that this is going to be an amazing card. It's a fun little tech that some decks are going to like, and sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, that is good enough. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.